So when you do RPM releases, is that giving your music away, putting it out publicly, or do you still have control over it?
No, you just have to complete it and then say you did. The way you officially win RPM is you just mail them a CD to prove that you did it. But you don't even have to do that. If you just want to do it to say you did it and be like, yep, I know I did it. Like one time there was actually an RPM that I did the year before I did Blood and Scotch Valentine. Yeah, so this was 2011, and I was there's a guy at work, and I had told him about RPM, and I was like, we should do this. He's like, yeah, we should totally do this. It's like, I'll record a record if you'll record a record. He says, yeah. We kept telling each other this all month until the last day of February. and it was like, neither of us had recorded a note, and it was February 28th, and it was like 4:55 at work for the day. And I said, Michael, I guess we missed RPM. And he's like, yeah, I guess we did. We'll get it next year. And I'm like, yeah, we'll get it next year. So I went home, and about 9 o'clock that night, I was like, fuck it, I'm recording a record. And I recorded an entire album in one sitting and finished it by like 3 o'clock in the morning. And I came in the next day, and I was like, Michael, I am so tired. He's like, why? I said, here. And I handed him the CD. Like, you fucker. He's like, did you seriously record a record last night? And I said, yeah, just to spite you.
Ryan Sutter, the most spiteful phoenix to ever rise from the ashes, ladies and gentlemen.
And that is the story behind my album, Lavone Love Letter. It was recorded in 6 hours.
Did you write it? Did you write it while recording it?
It's actually all Lavone covers, except for like, I think there's like one there. It's all covers of old Lavone songs, except for like one song. But yeah, I literally just was like, yep, I'm going to do a Lavone Love Letter. And that way I don't have to write anything. They're all written already. So.
You ever send that to Mike? Was it Mike that was in the original Lavone lineup?
I would have, but Mike had already passed away.
He had passed already at that point.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So actually me and Elvendal are the only OG Lavone members. Well, I suppose Brian Bishop probably counts.
Does he though?
Honest.
Does he though?
I hope he's love you, Ryan. I'd love to
miss you, Brian. Yeah, thanks for doing the sax solo on A Man Could Get Tired. I really appreciated that. Right. Brian was a talented guy.
He still is.
Yes.
Different. You know, we're all different people.
It's all political stuff. It's not always good for everybody. But have you ever heard the song that I'm sorry, we're way off track at this point, but we did a song with Brian once called Then the Cows Roared. And it's one of my favorite unreleased tracks from the Lavone days ever. And someday that's got to get out there. Somebody else has to hear Then the Cows Roared. It's all about Farmer John going to make some veal, didn't know it was his last meal, because he goes out to kill a cow and the cows roar and they attack him. And it's got this really great chorus that goes, Farmer John was totally defenseless against the onslaught of horns and teeth and hooves. Mama cow letting out all her frustrations, and they tore him up just like a pack of wolves. And I was just like, that is a great fucking lyric, man.
Is this Brian? Did Brian write the lyrics?
Brian wrote this one. And I remember me and Rhett and Brian doing like 3-part harmonies and being like, moo, moo. And that was one of the great recording sessions of all time.
It's hard not to think of like an Ayn Rand reimagining of Animal Farm. And then the cows roar.
The musical.
Because this dude Brian that we still know but haven't hung out for a while. We have fell on the right side of the witnesses are wrong, but we fell on different sides of. So how should we treat people as far as culture and society is concerned? Anyway, so he's a very conservative fella, and so I just like the idea of like him just writing just subversive, like I said, Ayn Rand reimaginings of Animal Farm.
He represents the swine in the farm. I think it's the conservatives.
Let's come on. This is.
Well, I can't remember Animal Farm exactly.
No, you're right. No, I was just,
yeah,
I'm trying to like, I'll probably talk to this person once or twice again.
Well, life. Considering
or burn it completely.
The only politically motivated song I ever did was on the last album that we did with Brian. We had Princess of Selfishness on there, and that's a song about Ayn Rand being a terrible human being because she's so selfish.
So Atlas Shrugged pop up on my feed for like whatever streaming service I have, and I was like, I feel like if I click on that, I'm supporting something I hate. I will not watch that movie. I won't even click on it.
Which sucks. You can't even like open yourself to ideas just to like remind yourself of why you feel like they're weak, because
I didn't know
of these
anything about her when I read Atlas Shrugged in high school, other than it was a big thick book that people read in school, and so I read it, and then I was like, oh wow, yeah, we should all be like this. And then I was like, about halfway through the book, I was like, oh wait, no, this is terrible.
Yeah. I saw was it Fountainhead, right?
Yeah,
that's another. Yeah, I saw that, and that was just like a brick, and I was like, I was like at a bookstore, and I saw Anthem, and I was like, this looks a little more approachable. And I got like a third of the way through it, and I'm like, Jesus Christ! And I will say one of the things that I do kind of miss about I guess being a witness was just like how blissfully ignorant I personally was about just politics at all. Just like completely apolitical. I did not understand that there was granted,
I couldn't tell the difference between ABC, NBC, and Fox News.
Oh, absolutely not.
I didn't know what the difference between a Republican and a Democrat was. I had no ounce of I was completely ignorant, which I'm not proud of. It's just like it was, ignorance is bliss in that case.
It was blissful. It's amazing. I think of like certain interactions I've had with people throughout the years back when I was in that, and I'm like, man, I was just so blissfully ignorant of like all of the filters that everybody puts on everything, and that I do, and I try like hard to like strip them off and just accept people and not just shit on them, in my head outright because they happen to have opinions that I don't agree with. That's something a Jehovah's Witness would do. But like halfway through Anthem, not even halfway through Anthem, I was just like, Jesus, it's really heavy-handed, and I kind of like it. Like, I felt like the whole thing was just too hyperbolic. Like, I get hyperbole to make a point, but I was like, oh God, it's
like thin characters were based on these.
Just got really, it just got really kind of like, it was just exhausting. It's like exactly, Scott, thin characters trying to push like an agenda of like any attempt to consideration is an open attack on stripping you of your autonomy. It's like, okay, sure. I guess. I mean, maybe there's an ocean of nuance between 0 and 1, but
all of her characters
some people
don't
see that.
All of her characters are like really strong business people who are in power, and then everyone else is just an angry mob for the whole story for all of her books. And that's not how the world works at all.
I mean, honestly, kind of where is the lie, but it's frustrating. Like it's not necessarily a complete lie, but
no, but I mean, it so oversimplifies reality and devalues 90%, 99% of the population. That's what made me so upset about it. Yes, I know, Buckley. What made me so upset about it was just kind of like, it was this idea that if you are a human being who does not contribute materially to the material capital society thing, like you're somebody who can't, for example, effectively contribute, you're a baby or an old person or somebody who's sick or something, that you're literally worthless, and that the rest of us have
Rhiger, somebody contributing art to culture. So anyway,
no, I mean, I mean, it really, I was not a fan.
What's surprising to me is that how many witnesses recommended that to me as a witness. Like, why was that the book to live by?
I think because there's an empowering message in it to at a surface level, right? Of like that if you should rely on yourself, you should be self-motivated, you should, and I don't think that is inherently wrong, right? Like, take care of your own shit is a pretty good message for the most part. But when you couple it with only the people who take care of their own shit deserve to be alive,
Yeah.
then there's a bit of a problem for me.
Speaking of hyperbolic dystopian allegories, earlier you were talking, and I was reminded of something that our friend Josh said about after leaving the Witnesses. Like he said, "Do you remember reading 1984
Yeah.
as a witness without a fucking hint of irony?"
Yeah.
Without even just like a hint of irony. It's like, oh yeah, no, that's great. That's a totally oppressive situation. And I remember when I realized, when I'm gonna pat myself in the back here. I remember I used nothing but the Watchtower CD-ROM to talk myself out of the religion, because I was furiously trying to dig myself back in, because things were just, quick a little summary of my backstory is I had a kid, and I could like lie to myself, or I could put off my doubts into the future. But when I saw this, beautiful pure eyes, I was like, okay, am I going to teach this person that this is the zenith of human morality? What about all these doubts? And I was like, well, I'm gonna get rid of them. I'm gonna take the CD-ROM and I'm gonna get rid of them. And it didn't work at all. And as all of these threads keep coming loose, it was pure 1984. It was absolutely like, I remember I had, my personal research file on my computer. I had it locked. I never do stuff like that. And my wife at the time, like, one of her biggest ideals is privacy. She never would have messed it, but I had it locked. I was like so paranoid that somebody was going to know that I was having independent thoughts. I was having doubts.
We all know now, Chad.
Yeah, right. I'm literally telling the internet, I renounce the Holy Spirit. Anyway.
Yeah. And all 6 of our viewers are going to share that information.
Yes. And 5 of those views are going to be me. And the other one is going to be me showing my kid. Anyway, go ahead. Yeah.
I wanted to ask a question not related to any of this, but just since we were talking about music, is there any good music that you guys are excited about that's new, that's coming out?
Love with Patriarchy, with an artist here in LA I got to see recently. She's amazing. Check out Patriarchy. They just released a new album or new song, and all their albums are really phenomenal.
You broke up a little bit. So you said you're in love with
Patriarchy.
And then it's italicized Patriarchy. So Patriarchy is the band.
Yeah.
Or the project name. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
They're like industrial, heavy, a little bit electronic, but they use electric instruments. So they're like a live band, but like a little bit.
All right. I'll check that out. I'm very excited. Tomorrow's release of the new album by Mitski.
Ooh.
I don't know if you know Mitski or not, but she is phenomenal.
I bet.
And she has an album coming out tomorrow that I am super excited about.
In the same vein of Patriarchy, there's another band I found that I love called White Ring. And I found both of these bands from an ExJW Witness artist called Geneva Jacuzzi, who I may have mentioned before, but all that stuff is like on the darker industrial side. And
cool.
Yeah, really fun. I got super sucked in the last year from their music.
I've been doing this thing on the music front. This is a kind of a thing that's exciting to me. I have started to make music more again because I've also really, the whole getting involved in politics and getting involved in like all these like therapy inducing things and all this other stuff actually in some ways kind of took me away from the music, which was a thing that I used a lot when I was a witness to sort of mentally balance. And it's interesting to me, at least, that I found that at least, especially since mobile phone, social media world has kicked off in the last decade, right? Like it's depressing and dehumanizing in a way that is similar to being a witness, in that it's like this sort of thing that is always sort of dragging you into this virtual world where you're sort of worrying about the state of the world all the time, and you just don't have that sort of Buddhist balance. And one of the things I realized was I miss just listening to and exploring music. And I used to just explore music all the time. Like I didn't have anything else to do. I didn't have the internet, whatever, when I was a kid, right? But I would like find a new band and find a new record and find a new thing. Sometimes it was new, sometimes it was old, but I was always exploring. And so I have really gotten back into that. And I've got like these books. I've got like these 2 books that are just great. One of them is 1,001 albums to hear before you die, and the other one is 1,000 recordings to hear before you die. And I've just been using them as jumping off points and like finding things and then going on to like streaming services and listening to those things and then going down these rabbit holes. And a lot of stuff that I swear to God, I know I should have known earlier, but I didn't, just albums I don't know how I missed, and bands I don't know how I missed. Like I suddenly, like a while back, just through just random exploration, I like finally got into Sparks. Like Sparks have been around since like the early 70s. And I have that one record they did with Franz Ferdinand, and I thought it was cool, but I never listened to their classic shit. And all of a sudden, like, I'm finding that, and it's very exciting. And what's more exciting though, is I'm like finding that this is a thing I used to do when I was a teenager. I will like stay up till 3:00 in the morning, just listening to different records and reading about them and like jumping from thing to thing. And I'm really enjoying it like a lot lately. And in the flip side of that is I'm really not going online or listening to politics or podcasts or any of that stuff. I'm just like, you know what? Music was good. I'm going to stick with music.
Let's do that again. Yeah.
Let's do that again.
Jealous.
It's really fun. It's really fun.
I got another band for you called Heilung. They're a Viking Norwegian band. They're like native indigenous Viking band, essentially.
I assume it's metal.
It's in that space, yeah. But they're actually all traditional instruments. Like the woman like sings like operatically, and she like clicks bones together, and people are like hitting in like skin drum. Like it's all acoustic. It's really amazing.
Nice. I will check that out too. You should post links to all of these in the thing.
Yeah. Oh, actually, I don't know if you saw I think you both contributed, but like my birthday post. So I got COVID like the day before my birthday, tested positive a couple weeks ago. And so I posted on Facebook to, the people that still use Facebook, and just made an announcement like, what I want for my birthday is a piece of art to consume or music, like links or band and song. And over 100 people from all different parts of my past in my life, from all the way back to like my high school experience, to witnesses, ex-witnesses, to Vietnam, to all the different places I've lived in the country, etc. Like it was amazing to have all this like outpouring of support for my birthday through art. And
that's awesome.
I knew like 4 of the songs and artists besides, like that was it out of like over 100. It was amazing to like go down this rabbit hole, or like multiple, I don't know, just like exploring and getting to consume art in this like new, fresh, refreshing way.
I'm jealous of that.
You can go on my Facebook and listen to them as if it was your birthday.
That's what I will do. That's what I will do.
It's funny that you brought up Sparks, because all of the things that I've been interested in are new releases by bands that have or projects that have already been established. Like my favorite records over the last year, I guess, have been like the St. Vincent record, the new one, the new Mogwai record, all of that stuff tracks. I gotta be honest with you, I'm kind of jealous of the enthusiasm, having the ability to touch back on that enthusiasm, because as a gracefully aging handsome gentleman, sometimes I feel like I'm like, do I even care about music the way I used to? I mean, I care about the stuff I make, and I'm like, you're not old, you're just an asshole. Oh wait,
well, I gotta say, I know where you're coming from, because like the kind of like naturally occurring enthusiasm for it, eventually you sort of, I don't know, it can wear off because life is a thing that happens. But I mean, it beats the alternative to life. But the thing I discovered was that I think what really happens is making the time for music makes you want more music. Like people who, the more music you love, or the more you love music, the more music you love, right? And it's kind of like a meditation thing where like if you just say, okay, well, I've been listening to 2 hours of podcasts, I'm going to listen to 2 hours of new music a day instead.
Right.
And just doing it. And I started doing it like literally intentionally. I was just like, I don't even know what this music's gonna be, but I've got stacks of old vinyl that I picked up at Goodwill. I'm going to start spinning it. I don't know what it is. I haven't even heard it. It might be like freaking, Northern Michigan tambourine music from, the Iron Range or something. I don't know. But I just started spinning it and just being like, I'm going to push this noise and discord off my plate, and I'm going to push music on my plate. And it took a while before I started craving putting on more music. And by the way, the new St. Vincent is awesome.
Yeah.
And if
The
you
show
haven't,
was amazing too.
if you haven't, did you? Oh, you saw her live. So
I brought my daughter too.
Oh,
yeah.
Because I got like totally hooked when she did the Austin City Limits performance. I caught that on. It's still on my DVR. I've like watched it like 6 times because damn.
Have you seen the movie that she did with Carrie Brownstein?
No, not yet. It's on my
Yes.
to-do list.
So what's that? What's the Nowhere In?
The Nowhere In. Yeah, I've got the sound.
It's like it's basically a Portlandia episode directed by. I mean, it wasn't directed by David Lynch, but imagine a Portlandia episode directed by David Lynch with St. Vincent. It's bonkers.
I'm very into that. My vinyl copy of Mass Seduction is actually on its way right now. I'm very excited about that.
This just reminded me, did you guys ever see, it came out 4 years ago, this TV series Atlanta?
Yes.
Oh yeah.
With our fellow ExJW.
Yeah.
Freaking
Childish Gambino. Yeah. It's so good. So well done.
In the in the
I always forget he was a witness. Yeah.
In the community outtakes when they were doing I don't know if you guys are community fans, but they have this one like the post-credit scene where they're decorating Troy, who is Donald Glover, like a Christmas tree, and they're singing "Oh Christmas Troy, oh Christmas Troy," and one of the outtakes, Donald Glover looks at the camera and goes, "This is for my Jehovah Witness mom." It's kind of rad.
That's fantastic.
He has a song. I listened to his whole like a whole album of his recently, and he has a song where he raps about falling off the tower and something about like not not understanding something, and I don't know, it was like this beautiful lyric in this rap that I was like, oh, he's that's for us, that's for the ExJW. So
that's for the
gotta remember your roots.
Speaking of roots, I was looking at my my Apple Music right before the intermission, and I was going to make the joke that my recently played are 2 records by your little sister Ryan, a record by your little brother, the really poppy one that was out when Day Trip. The riveting.
I love that album.
Yeah, Pop Riveter.
The riveting popular. Yeah. And then there's my own record, and then there's Day Trip, and then there's a bunch of post rock. And I was like, wow, like say you're a sad dad aging post rock musician without saying you're a sad dad aging post rock musician. That's wonderful. And also getting over the tower. What were you gonna say, Sam?
Oh, I went to a show on Friday night that one of my I have a German coworker here, his friend, and he's like, hey, there's this German DJ who's super famous around the world. He's like one of the house like staff DJs at in Berlin at Bergheim. His name's Marcel Detman, and he's like super heavy industrial techno. And so we went to this warehouse party in downtown LA, and it was pretty fucking great. It was like 11 to 5 a.m. We got there at 1, just as he was starting his set, and it was just super solid.
That sounds like a very good time.
When did you dose?
At about 11:30. I know what I'm doing. I'm an adult.
Letting her slip show a little bit. There we go.
Yeah, highly recommend it.
Indeed. Highly recommend.
Dosing at 11:30.
Yeah. Dosey
Yeah.
do.
So I'm exploring different avenues of music. I've never really was into electronic music like that at all growing up. I kind of was like against it because I have such a place in my heart for live music with instruments. But I've come to love what like this guy's not a DJ. He's performing, like he's making the sounds live. I'm sure there's like some bass, like some track or some beats that he's pre-recorded or mixed, but like he's bringing that shit up at the right time and he's like dialing things in at the right time to make the experience like phenomenal.
Right. That's what Animal Collective does. That as they
Oh my
like,
God, there's really
as they
amazing.
move closer to like a 21st century avant-garde Kraftwerk, where they're all basically just kind of. I saw Kraftwerk once, and it was just the three of them sitting behind laptops, or the four of them sitting behind laptops.
I proudly bought my first vinyl actually a couple weeks back over the holidays, and it was a Kraftwerk from a thrift store, and I was like, "What?
Nice.
This is just in here for like $6? So cool!"
Yeah,
My
right.
first vinyl's
Nice.
Kraftwerk.
Nice.
But
Nice.
Animal Collective, like in order to kind of give it more of an organic feel, like they have all of their samples and they have everything going on, but like they're still like activating them with like what's that, MPC or whatever the thing's called, to give it kind of like a more of a looser feel, and they incorporate as much as they can to give these songs, which are basically crafted on laptops, just like the the one I'm on right now, a more organic feel.
It can be done. I mean, just because the sounds are being electronically generated doesn't mean you're not controlling the performance, right? Like in response to the crowd and in response to what you want with stuff like the looping stuff. Like, I mean, anybody can like load up Ableton with a whole bunch of cool shit and then make a totally different performance every night. So I think people who think that that's not performing are misinformed, because I love Animal Collective. I saw live. That was one of the most amazing, incredible, enjoyable sets. Like, just I've only seen them once, but I was very, very into it. That was
Which record?
really good. I want to say I saw them right after Merriweather Post Pavilion.
Ooh. Yeah. I can make this topical for you, Scott. I went to Pitchfork Music Festival in Chicago right after I realized I'd already made plans with a friend of mine who lived in Arkansas and some friends who lived in the cities. They were all witnesses to go down and go to the Pitchfork Festival. And this was right after I realized that this was bullshit. And I had I was trying to get everybody to like, let's keep going. Let's go get a slice of pizza at this bar. And everyone's like, I'm tired. I'm going to go home. And I was just like, and I don't think I'd even told my wife at this point, but I knew this was the last time I was going to hang out with any of them. And I wanted so desperately, but like probably 80% of the reason I went there was to go see Animal Collective right after the Merriweather. It was either that or the record right after that. But yeah. So
They're amazing.
There was the ExJW tie-in. I remember so you basically, leave it to a festival to like just let you, like we had to go home halfway through Public Enemy's set because we were so tired and heat exhausted. And it's like, this festival suck. Why am I walking away from Public Enemy? This is fucking rad, but I just kept so you're walking around, you're going to the different stages, and I'm hanging out with these people, and like we're just having these blissed out moments, but also like this bittersweet, like I'm getting just like weepy, and
And you're just sitting there being like,
yeah, it's like, dude, it's just Dinosaur Jr. And I'm like, but it's so good to see you. This is the last time we hang out with you. We saw Dinosaur Jr. and we saw Hold Steady and Animal Collective and all of these other bands.
That sounds
a great show. I would love to go to that show.
No, it's fun.
Mitchell from Madison, he and I are getting tickets to see this new festival in Vegas this year called When We Were Young. and it's like
Yeah.
35 or
I've
40
heard
bands.
about this.
It's like
This
every
is like-
amazing band from 2000 to 2007.
yeah,
I had only heard about this in meme form. So when somebody
Yes.
told me about that, I was like, I thought this was a joke.
I
And they're
thought
like,
it was
no.
like just for like all the emo kids who
Well,
are not
it
emo
is.
kids anymore. It's
It
just
is.
It is.
it's just it's like it's basically like like a Grateful Dead tour from the 80s, but for emo kids.
It is. Yeah, exactly.
The
Yeah.
only, the
Mitchell was
only
like,
two
half the
bands-
bands didn't even know about the concert. Like, it might be a scam. This is crazy.
Right?
Oh wow.
The only
Okay.
two bands that I care about on that lineup are Bright Eyes and Dashboard Confessional, and I want them to fight it out, and I want them both to win because fuck you, I have nothing to prove. I like them both.
You know what? I didn't even read who was on the list, and I was gonna say I bet Bright Eyes and Dashboard Confessional are playing.
Yes, it is.
And I want to see them both so desperately.
So
I can sing
good.
my heart out to like basically both of their first few albums.
But yeah.
Oh.
And we have this like Smiths Morrissey false dichotomy, which isn't actually a false dichotomy with those two. If you like the Smiths, fuck you. You're unchristian and a bad person. But yeah, it's so like people are like, there's just one, and the fact that either of them are being dismissive of the other, like, are you kidding? You know how much like pride you have to swallow to just fucking give yourself over to both of these like glorious sad bastards who, you know, who both kind of unofficially invented like getting laid with an acoustic guitar in college in the early aughts, or excuse me, or a Christian camp for dashboards. Yeah.
I didn't realize he was Christian. That checks out though.
Well, I don't think he is now necessarily, but I think that he kind of started. You know, we all have our past.
Yeah.
You ever have that? Do you ever have that experience where like you listen to an artist who you like, and then they throw like a Christian song in, and it just throws you off? Because I was listening to
Gross.
M Ward's "Hold Steady," and I have liked a couple of M Ward's records. Transfiguration of Vincent was amazing.
I remember you telling me about that record when
Yeah.
it came out, and you're like, dude, when I drop you off, fuck everything you've got going on. Transfiguration of Vincent. Go ahead.
That was a fucking brilliant record, right?
Yeah.
And he did a few other really great things, but I was listening to this record of his whole time, and suddenly he's singing about how, you know, I don't know, Jesus wore the spiky cross or the crown and I'm like, where the fuck is this coming from? And like there was like several songs on this record that got all Christiany, and I was like, oh man, way to wreck your record.
Are you sure that it wasn't in like kind of a tongue-in-cheek like Leonard Cohen?
No,
way?
I'm sure
went
because
full
I
Because like
Bob Dylan in the
Leonard
80s.
Cohen, yeah. See, it's funny. Leonard Cohen is a Jewish person who wrote beautifully, borrowing from the New Testament, and Bob Dylan just kind of just further settled into irrelevance. Sorry.
he absolutely was writing about his religious faith as a
Interesting.
Christian
Yeah.
on that particular record.
Yeah.
And I mean, I still think M Ward's talented,
Yeah.
right? And I mean, he's got some of his stuff is just, I don't know. He's got a great gravelly voice. He knows it, but some of his songwriting, it's like, you could use an editor. He has some that are brilliant and some that are just like, oh, okay, cool. And especially all the stuff he did with Zooey Deschanel. I'm just like, I always kind of want to like it because I have a crush on Zooey Deschanel and she has a great voice in that movie with the elf. But the records just are not very interesting. But anyways, yeah, no, it just threw me off. Like I was just, I don't know. I guess I had heard the record before, but I had never noticed the Christianity thing. And now it's been bugging me ever since. It's been like a week. In the back of my head, I'm like, I got to find out, is this on other M Ward records? And I just didn't notice.
Fun fact, High TV did a cover of a song, and I don't necessarily want to like mention the band outright because they're one of my very favorite bands, and I don't want any kind of anyway. There's a band that they are religious-y. I feel like they're kind of religious-y the way I was before I left the Witnesses, but before I came back to going to meetings all the time, where I was like kind of doing worldly things, but I still, what's the cute name for it? What's it called?
Rumspringa.
Well, it was definitely my Rumspringa, but like
Pimo,
you had all of these like
Meepo,
Pomo.
Oh,
FOMO.
you are mentally out, physically in. No, I'm physically out, mentally in.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So I feel like they're kind of like that, and they're
you were a Pimo.
yes,
Pomi.
But the song
What's up, Pomi?
The song that we cover is a song that was inspired by suicide bombers. The song's called "Murderer." You may need a murderer. It's a song that's from the perspective of the suicide bomber talking to God, someone to do your dirty work. And we covered that song. We love that band, but like it was also kind of like you need to figure this out, because there's a line, don't act so innocent. I've seen you pound your fists into the earth, and I've read your books. It seems that you could use another fool. Well, I'm cruel. And it's like, and it's like so good. And it's like, what I should have done is attacked him with a bunch of evidence. And that would surely dissuade it to bring it full circle. Get it from the beginning, Scott. I brought it around.
Yeah, so now you can just edit this by making it a callback.
He begged us not to make him edit it.
4 hours of podcast.
He was like, "Don't make me edit, you assholes! Come on."
Or into episode 15 now, because we were on hour 2.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, well, again, we like to give the people what they want.
Right.
I mean, I think listening to the three of us converse is a gift that would go under any holiday tree of any faith or non-faith persuasion at any holiday you've got. Honestly, this is the podcast that you should give, along with your copy of Sleepywood Dojo.
Speaking of
and the 10-year anniversary
of Bloodscotch and Valentine.
Yes.
Yeah. The only thing that sounds more fun than talking with the three of you, the two of you, the three of us, is re-listening to this again and giving this podcast some sweet listens.
Speaking of ExJW's Witnesses making music, Wesley David Music has a show on Saturday, so hopefully I'll have this out before then in Santa Monica. Song out. He's like going to perform for the first time live.
Nice.
So Wesley, Ryan, I don't think you might know of him, Chad, but we had him on the show. Ryan and I a few episodes ago, Halloween time. I was wearing my horns.
He sent me a copy
his
of his
vinyl
record.
right?
Yeah, I've got it, and I always enter all my vinyl into Discogs, which is where I keep my online archive of all my stuff. And I found out that his record was not listed on Discogs, but it is now. I made an entry for him. So nice. You're welcome, Wesley. You now exist on Discogs.
Ethical pirating.
I love that.
It's wonderful.
I didn't know that's not piracy. He's in a database of records.
What was cool is when I was on the Recovering from Religion chat on Zoom, it was just 5 people. And one of the women was ExJW's Witness. And she was like, "Oh, Scott, I think I've heard of you from, I know this guy, Tim, who's what is it, Phoenix, Sapphire Phoenix, is Tim Brown. He's another ExJW's Witness that just left a couple years ago. Good friend of Wesley's. So I met him a couple times. He came to our early screening and she's like, yeah, so Tim was telling me about Wesley and then I met Wesley and then Wesley mentioned your movie. And so, but when they actually asked me to watch the trailer during our little chat the other day. And so she brought that up that she actually knew who I was and knew about the film already.
Cool.
Yeah. It's like the community is small.
Oh, I actually had kind of a small, tiny, not exactly hilarious, but kind of odd experience on that the other day. So I got this email yesterday morning, actually, and it was from this guy that I originally met, I want to say 1996. Like, he was the guy who introduced me to Linux when it was not really a thing yet. Like, it was a thing that came in the back of a book that talked about how there was going to be this, you could get your own free little operating system that you could run on a 386, right? So it goes back a ways. So this guy, Steve, he and I have sort of known each other on and off.
Steve Jobs.
Yes, Steve Jobs. We've known each other on just vaguely for a very long time. So he just emails me out of the blue. I haven't seen him in 20 years. Emails me out of the blue and says, "Hey, it's been a long time. I was at a book sale a couple years ago, and I picked up a copy of this book called Deliverance at Hand, and I never knew James, but I just started reading it, and I got in, and like for the first 100 pages, like you and your brother Rhett are all over this thing, and then I was like, hey, I should write Ryan." So I just got an email from a dude who I haven't spoken to in 20 years because he read about me in a book and was like, wonder what that guy's up to.
Awesome.
That was kind of cool. So
Actually, I still
My
need to read his.
ex-wife proofed that book, by the way.
Oh wow, cool. I bought a copy from James when I was up there in November to get a physical copy. I already had I still haven't read it, but I have the Kindle thing, but I hate the Kindle. So I got his copy, but then I was immediately after that went to Thanksgiving out in Joshua Tree and filmed with Yatri there. And we made our little film or little podcast. And she's like, what's this book? I was like, okay, you need this book. You can have this copy. So I still need to buy another copy.
You need to buy it again.
Yeah. So I gave it to her as a gift. An unread
nice.
book.
Yeah. That's very nice of you. Well, tell her that I'm all over the first 100 pages and she'll enjoy the hell out of it.
Yeah, right.
Because of you, for sure.
Right. Obviously, I make the book.
Through it.
I'm the main character. What can I say?
Yeah.
James is not the main character in his own life story,
It's a
obviously.
burden.
He's a gentleman. He writes in the third person about other
Yes.
people.
Actually, I got to proof James's book when he first wrote the first draft. He shared it to me, and it was.
You edited yourself in more.
Oh, it was at least 1,500 pages the way he wrote it initially. Like, his book was like this giant thing. And it
was the most accurate thing that any apostate has ever done.
The first 800 pages were just a glowing praise of how handsome I was. And I said, James, could you cut that out of the book just a little bit? It's embarrassing. You're embarrassing yourself.
Yeah, right. You only have that one paragraph about how Chad is mildly tolerable, so it's gonna feel bad.
Well, should we wrap?
We should
the
wrap it,
podcast thing here?
Yeah. Thanks everyone for listening to Witness Underground podcast episode 14. Yeah, thanks for coming on, guys. Let's do it again.
Yeah,
thanks a lot,
it's a
man.
pleasure.